that value in utilizing for negotiations of both fees as well as interest rates, no one can do that, I can tell you. We created what is called a pricing database that we utilize when we do negotiated transactions. This will be competitive, so I think, and like you suggested, that competitive process comes down to whoever's the lowest rate at that time. That's great. Deciding on when that happens is where we take the next level. By having the data that we are utilizing to build that timing, you won't find it anywhere else. And frankly, fees are around the same. Because there's a competitive, it's not even that competitive a market. There are literally probably 2 or 3 people in Pennsylvania that do this around this area. That's about it. So from my perspective.
So we talked to one so far, so there's 2 more, 3
Yeah.
more to go, okay?
Yeah. And from your perspective,
yeah.
if you go to 1 or 2 others, costs are around the same. And from my perspective, you wait 1 or 2 months to go down that road, you've now lost the potential of the fear of the rising interest rates. If that were to
So what
happen,
could you do for us today? How could you reduce your current cost that your company will be receiving for the servicing of this loan?
Well,
if this board
yeah.
were to decide to proceed in this more expeditiously, what could you cut off those numbers that you've given us?
well, at this point, I actually haven't really quoted a cost yet. The reason why I haven't quoted the cost yet is I gave a range because 2 reasons. This process is not an easy process. Frankly, this township has not issued any debt yet, so I gave a range of what I think the cost will be. Knowing Kevin, as long as I've known Kevin, I've worked with him in a couple other places, I'd probably make my fee on the low end of that. So for your comfort level, I would do the low end of the
Can you
range.
supply some references?
Yeah, sure, I can supply hundreds of references.
I'm not.
Don't shoot me back, you live here, you want the lowest cost.
Exactly, and you know, you can say you're better, but I'm also asking you, are you cheaper? Okay, so it's not
Cheaper
just.
isn't always better,
So,
if there is one, I'm not
let me
sure
finish,
cheaper.
let me finish my sentence, okay? So are you cheaper? Is what you're giving us the value that we
Yes.
need, okay? Not just that you give the best service, if you're giving us more than we need, okay, at a higher rate, then it's not a good value for the residents.
Yeah,
So,
good point. In addition, I think as I alluded to at the last meeting, one thing I would also build out for the residents as well is I would create a sewer projection going forward as well as part of this,
A rate structure.
a rate structure.
Right.
So I would build that
True.
to readjust and see where you'd be going in the near future. I'm actually doing that right now for Ottawannie Township in Berks County.
Right.
We are doing.
And that's built into your fees?
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
so you're looking at an engineer doing that, $10,000? $8,000? I know, right, I mean, you're talking a couple $1,000s for somebody to do a rate study.
Yeah, a rate analysis.
Rate
Do
analysis.
a rate projection on that, because I think one of the concerns, I live a couple towns over, and, what you want here is, you want to keep your sewer rates as low as possible, but while also maintaining strong reserves for future needs. So you've incurred a fair amount of debt to do these particular projects. So I would build out the long-range financial model to project out what your sewer rates will be in the near future, so you can utilize that every year. So, as I mentioned, you paid me, right? You're not gonna pay me again until if we do something else that makes most sense. So, in a year from now, when you guys are starting to do your budget, we'll re-update that projection model on your sewer rates, and we can utilize that to decide if you keep your rates as they are, or lower them, or change them. I don't know until we do the projection. So, I think that's a little value added, because I've got some pretty good experience from doing this with other clients. Ottawannie, as an example, they're very small, but they've got close to $13 million of debt. They have about 1,000 users, so their annual fees are quite high. So we've been maintaining, they pay thousands of dollars a year for sewer in that particular township. So
Others pay a lot more.
yeah, so we've done some pretty good things. We've saved millions of dollars by refinancing, which is good, but every year, we re-update that sewer chart, because we want to make sure that they're doing things correctly. Because the last thing you want to do is not have enough money in your sewer fund if something were to go awry. So we would work with your engineer on the long-term side of this, but I would do the rate study as part of this as well. So as a value added, I do that.
So does the action of the supervisor tonight preclude them from looking at other offerers of this service?
what it precludes you, well, if you sign my engagement letter, you've engaged PFM. You have the right to fire PFM. It's up to you, I guess, but you haven't incurred anything at that point. But I would say, if you want to move in some fashion, let's get moving.
You'll
Yeah,
send me a copy of the
I-
application.
Yeah, I think I handed that last one, but I'll read it. I have it in my emails.
Our previous bank loan, I mean, we worked with a Mr. Peck from Concord Financial. Why couldn't the township also go back to him? Like I said, you're only one set of eyes. It might be nice to have another set of eyes, look at this proposal, and see if other financial advisors out there can, as Ms. Schweik had said, provide us with a better deal. Who's to say we can't go back to Fulton Bank and say, hey, this guy's, they might wanna keep our business. They may restructure and refinance our loan. It just seems like you're rushing into something. And I don't think it's that crucial, like the rates, I mean, if you wait a month or get a secondary consultation or even a third consultation, it might behoove the township to see what's out there as opposed to
The all-new Ram
just going
1500.
I mean, you're not saying that your proposal, it may turn out to be the best, and it might be the best for the township. But, it would be nice to have other financial proposals to compare to.
I mean, when we get a mortgage on our house and home, we don't go with the first bank that we go to.
I'm not a bank.
Okay, but I'm sorry, let me,
Yeah.
okay, you go and you search out different options. Do you go for a 15-year, what kind of rate go, what kind of banks they have? So you're looking at all the options that are out there. I'm concerned that this is just going down one track without having explored.
I'm not suggesting in any fashion that you don't look at other alternatives. What I'm suggesting to you here is, you have to trust that I know what I'm doing, and if you feel comfortable, we can proceed down that road. I have no problem calling up Fulton Bank and saying, hey, what's your rate? And I can pretty much guarantee you that the rate they're gonna give you for 5 years is around 4%. It's not very hard. Kevin can make the phone call too, if he wants to see what the local bank is. It doesn't change your mind. It doesn't change any of the timing in that fashion, but your alternatives are really your alternatives. You can either stick with what you have, you can try to renegotiate, which I pretty much can guarantee it's gonna be a higher rate, or you can lock into the bond issue. Those are your alternatives at this point.
And then within the bond arena, we have different companies that we could choose to
Within
assist us with that.
Within the bond industry, the highest cost you're going to pay is the underwriting costs. It really is. That process on $10 million is what makes up what your savings is. Whether you, and I have no idea, whether you save $1,000 today or pay $2,000 more, I don't know if that really matters. When you're talking about $10 million, 5 basis points makes up about $65,000 for this township. So that's the concern you can have, is by those 5 basis points on the debt itself is really what drives what the savings are. I'm in the business of doing the competitive sales if it makes sense for the client. I think this would make sense for the client to do the competitive auction. If it makes sense, as we're talking, and the bank market changes, I will switch gears and I will look at the bank. I will call the bank if you want. I'm basing this on experience of what we're doing right now, that this is the best course of action. But I'm okay if you guys decide you want me to look in another fashion. It's fine with me. But I personally do not think you will do any better than what you currently have on the bank loan.
Yeah, the one thing I'm gonna say, I'm not giving an endorsement, but I have worked with public financial management, a gentleman by the name of Don Silverson, for many years of my experience with the County Sewer Authority and the Lower Perkiomen Valley Regional Sewer Authority, which I was one of the co-founders of, working with municipalities. He's given you his statement tonight of what his firm can do. Believe me, you can shop around. You're not gonna do any better than they do. I'll guarantee that. They're in the business, they've done it, I've worked with them. And again, I'm not giving an endorsement, but I'm telling you the facts. He's going through a lot of detail. He's given you numbers. He's told you what the variables are, what can happen. He's looking at the future. when you come into financing, and I've learned it with this issue, and I'm not a CPA, I don't have a degree in anything to do with accounting, but I understand it. I ran an authority in Trapp Borough and Collegeville Borough. I used to do the payments on the annual basis, paying. I worked with LIBOR on investments, things like that. You have to strike at the time when you want to do your financing. You cannot delay. If this board wants to shop, they have that option. And again, I'm not making an endorsement, but he did a good job, probably an excellent job. But think about what he said.
Right. The toughest part about this business is making people understand what they're getting into. That's really my role. My role is to sit in front of boards and teach people how the process works and make people sort of understand the way this works. You're not gonna understand everything, because you don't do this every day. In the end, if you feel comfortable with what we're trying to do here, and I'm explaining it in some fashion, that's really my value. Ultimately, my goal is to make sure we're doing the best possible transaction possible. I think Kevin feels comfortable. I have lots and lots of people that are surrounding us, feel very comfortable with me. I can't do any more than, we have good references, we've been around for 1 billion years. I will do the low-end cost, and I'll do that sort of projection. There's not much more I can say besides that. That's really up to you.
I just want to ask a clarifying question. So you
Sure.
gave us this chart of all the different costs. But these are the total costs. This doesn't mean like your firm is all of this money
No.
itself. So I just want to clarify that for everybody, is the cost for them would be
The
this,
one line.
the one line, and the rest would be no matter who we go with, it'll be the same.
Exactly, yes. There's variable transaction costs, a few of them, based on size of transaction, but all the other ones are part of a bidding process from that perspective. I'm coordinating all those things, so.
Page 9.
Yeah, it's page 9.
Yeah. And
So what I'm saying is I will do the low end for the financial advisor fee, and all the other ones, if we want to go through and get a new bond counsel, I know what your fee is going to be based on what we talked about. I think it'll be the low end of that cost if we add those things together based on that. The underwriter's fee will be part of the internet auction process. I had to give a big range because until this happens, we don't know. The credit rating is based on the size of the transaction. The low end is going to be 12, the high end is going to be 15. Bond insurance is based on your credit rating ultimately. It's more than likely going to be 0, but we'll know until we do the sale. The internet auction doesn't change. Actually, it's going to be cheaper by using ours versus the traditional Branch Street. CUSIP number is the same based on the transaction. The paying agents bid out, which doesn't change because they charge the same prices. So that's the process. There's really no other variables ultimately.
And Kevin, what's your experience been with BFM?
Worked with him, I guess it was Topton, New Hanover. And believe me, this is no endorsement. I mean, I've known Jamie for a very long time. He's good at what he does. I can get you references. I can, I talk to other managers. He's done school districts, he's done municipalities, done authorities. Yeah, there are other people out there, but I think, I mean, as far as his costs, maybe save $1,000 or $2,000 maybe by going with somebody else, maybe. But those are standard costs. I mean, it's like when you were said about a mortgage, you have standard costs when you go get a mortgage. Whoever you go to, you're gonna pay the same cost. Same situation here.
Right, you just have to price them down and see what's the most economic for the services that you need.
Yeah. Correct. Again, coming from an FA shop previously, I moved companies for a reason, because this company honestly offers more for my clients than anything out there. I have 100 municipalities, and the type of things that we do for our clients, you will not find anywhere else. I know I'm a salesman. I am selling myself with my firm, but in the end, if I wasn't doing it for this long, I wouldn't be sitting here because I do a very good job. My firm is well known, and we have the resources necessary to make your transaction more economical than anyone else. I can honestly say that because I've been in other places. So I don't know much more to say for you personally, but from my perspective, this is $10 million. This is a lot of money. The execution of the transaction is the most important part of this. I have the resources for you to determine what makes most sense at the right time. 5 basis points, 10 basis points makes a big, big difference over the course of 22 years.
To let you know, we did have bonding come in the beginning when we financed it in the beginning. And the bonding couldn't even come near the banks at that time. Now it's,
That's because of the market change, yeah.
you know,
Can the rest of us see the figures that you guys are looking at? I mean, thank you.
Yeah, I have a couple extra, I know.
Yeah, you want to pass one this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, and understand that, I work for you, I'm working for you, I'm like your solicitor ultimately here, so I'm not allowed to lie to you. That's my job, is to do the right thing and what makes most sense.
Bob,
Yeah, just a thought with, the regular meeting a week away and the questions being raised, whether, our bank can give us a rate or whatnot, or possibly looking at RFPs from other companies such as Jamie's. We have a week away, that could be done, I mean, obviously, as he said, if you give him,
Yeah.
if you give him the time, if you sign his request now, you can always fire him later, but, who wants to go through that? So, I mean, in a week's period of time, we could definitely check with our bank. We can definitely, get a hold of Fox Rothschild or whoever for the bond counsel. You guys could have more information sitting in front of you next Tuesday than you have this evening. So,
we wouldn't be signing an agreement
Yeah,
until next Tuesday anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he has to go back and get it all drawn up, so.
yeah, well, I just
If we
figured
were-
I'd mention it, so.
Is that when he would give you the official figures rather than the estimates, or when would that come in?
That's
I mean, I
when
don't-
we would sign this contract.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of given,
I mean, maybe it's just I'm sitting on the outside here and I don't have the figures that you guys are looking at, but if you're asking the township to do something, I think the residents deserve a little information.
yeah, I mean, frankly, when I was here on July 3rd, I think the goal was to provide some additional information to this meeting. We've done work in good faith at this point. Not that I didn't know that going forward, that was the goal here. From our perspective, we've already engaged the process of preparing some of the documentation for the offering statement. We've put together the cost projections, which we already had built into the model, but now you can see those ranges. In addition, I put together the timeline. Those are the things that are really beginning parts of this process. There's not much more information to be done until Kevin really puts together the offering documents at this point, from his perspective. The engagement letter we have provided, you kind of took a look at it originally and said, it looks like a standard engagement letter. That's about it. I mean, yeah, at some point you have to trust the person you're speaking to. I've been here twice now, described this in a couple fashions, provided some additional information. I have no problem, again, making a phone call to Fulton Bank. I'm very good at projecting what people are going to say when it comes to this. It's fine, we can make a phone call. You're gonna be no better than you are currently. It's easy. So-
Yeah, and I think, I understand everyone's concerns, and I'm really concerned too, because it's $10 million. But given the trends, I see the reason to not delay. If anything could happen after the election, if anything could happen next year.
When's the Fed meeting again?
The meeting right now,
See, I mean,
Yeah.
they could change tomorrow.
So, but we do have some points built into this where we can say, whoa,
yes,
we need to wait, or we need to move faster.
yes.
I think it's pretty safe to say, unless there's something drastic changes, because we have inflation trends are on the upswing, that interest rates are gonna go up. I think that's safe, and I think it's also fair, someone can call the bank and see what they would charge. My other understanding of the advantage of this is, we are locked in for the duration of the loan at an interest rate. Whereas if we go to a bank, we can only get a 5-year term.
5 or 7.
A 5 or 7 year term, and that's huge uncertainty built into that, and I understand that. So, I think that's where I see some of the advantages to this as opposed to sticking with the traditional bank at this point. Now, I know when you took out the loan, we had historically low rates, and the bank loan was the way to go.
It was,
And if we could have gotten a 30-year loan or a 25-year loan, that would have been great, but
but
we
we
didn't.
couldn't.
We couldn't.
Yeah, thanks.
Or
So-
25.
I know I've been talking for a long time.
You have a
But the
25-year loan.
supervisors.
Yeah.
Well, but, so we're only locked in.
It's
we're gonna fund that.
2.48 for the first
Right,
7
we're only
years,
locked
and then the
5
remaining years are at a cap of 5. But
Correct.
it could be 3, it could be 4.
Could be anything.
No,
could be
it's
5.
capped
Could be
at
5.
Could
5.
be anything.
But,
could
but
be
for the
5.
next 5 years, you're gonna be paying a
You
percentage
can't
point
guess these
higher.
things. You have to
Like
move.
on the
Personally,
bond.
I live here too and I pay my taxes.
I think you
And
have
I'm
to look
concerned
on the
about our
long run. I
township.
think you have to
But
look
I would
over
rather
30 years.
strike
Yeah,
while the
projection
iron's
all the
hot.
way
I
in.
think the time to move is now. The more you wait for this and second guess, his numbers now will be out on the street because they've been given. Somebody will go somewhere with them. And he's lived with that. He can live with that. He knows that happens. That's part of the game. But I listened to this today, just like everybody else did. And again, I've worked with public financial management. They are good, they are a good company. And I think you should move at this juncture. Get it done with. You delay this, and I think you're delaying, and it's gonna eventually cost you more money. And he has parameters written in there, if something goes this way or that way, yes, you can back out. But I think you have to strike and move ahead, personally. That's my opinion.
I think you have to look long-term, Linda. You can't look 5 years, you gotta look 30 years.
You gotta look out in the
I'm just
future.
trying to look beyond.
That's the problem around here, nobody looks in the future.
Oh,
I'll tell you right now, they don't.
No, I just think it would behoove the township to get perhaps a second opinion.
Well, so you'll call the bank and get a second.
Call the bank, yeah.
Okay.
Well, why not another financial advisor?
Well, my understanding is, I mean, the bond market is the bond market, right? I mean, whether it's you or whether it's another financial advisor, I mean, you're the middle, I don't want to call you the middleman, but you're the facilitator.
Yeah.
So he has no influence over the bond market. I mean, we could
But
bring
you're
another
just
person in.
taking his word, his publications as fact. Why would you not maybe go to Concord Financial, who financed our own?
I'm sorry, taking them as fact, I mean, you're licensed, you have to tell us the truth,
I
right?
Well, but
appreciate-
by the
Because
same
it's
token, he said everything is speculation on his point.
Anybody you bring in here is
It's
gonna
gonna
be
be speculation,
speculate,
but
correct.
why are you only going on one person's speculation? I mean, like, wouldn't you get like 2 or 3 estimates?
Well, if you look at the packet that went around, he provided 3 scenarios of where it could go. Again, he doesn't know, but depending on which of those scenarios, that will give us the
Yeah.
costs. And again, I mean, I'm assuming that if someone else came in here who does the same thing you do, we
Yeah.
get a very similar presentation.
Yeah, very good.
Because the market is the market.
You're assuming,
Well,
but you
yes.
don't know for sure because you haven't done it.
The competitive process will ultimately determine what the overall interest rate is.
Yeah.
I think it's time for the
And not
board
only
to
that, our
reflect.
rating, where we're gonna be
The
on
rating,
some of
yeah,
that.
which we have no
Which
control over.
we,
It is what it is.
To reflect on what they think is best for the township and take a vote on it.
I agree. I think you gotta move forward, keep it moving.
I'm gonna make a motion.
I'd like to see us make a motion to